Hello everybody, and welcome to a video that is not Vintage Cube. I mostly create Vintage Cube content on this channel, of course, and that is my favorite format, but it's not always available, and I have been having a lot of fun recently in Modern with this creativity deck. So first I'll do a little bit of deck tech and background on it. The thing that got me into the deck was Leyline Binding, which you may see is not in this deck now. So Leyline Binding is a 6-mana enchantment that only costs 1 mana if you have all 5 land types, and I thought that slotted pretty well into creativity. So I was playing a build with 4 Wrenn and 6, 4 Teferi, 4 Leyline of Binding, 4 Creativity, and still playing the Creativity Archon package and whatnot. And I liked it, and I was doing pretty well with it, but the mana was inconsistent. Some games you have 2 fetch lands in your opening, and it's great. Some games you have opening like 2 Dwarven Mines, and you just can't do anything. And so I was tinkering around with it, trying to fix the mana base, and ended up deciding that the power level is there, but the consistency wasn't. And I think this variant of the deck is much more consistent and not that much less powerful. So, the basic structure of the deck. Indomitable Creativity is the card we're building around. So destroy X artifacts and enchantments, and for each permanent, you get to put one of those things onto the battlefield. So we have no artifacts and we have 4 creatures. So every single time you play Indomitable Creativity, it'll find Archon of Cruelty. And sometimes that's only 1 Archon. Sometimes you can get 2 or even up to 4 all at once. So that's pretty sweet. This card gains life, draws cards, kills stuff, and kills the opponent. There's a lot of cards you can put in this slot. Archon of Cruelty is typically considered to be the best because it's the best against removal. Like, you can put into play Emrakul, but then if they just have Leyline Binding, it doesn't do anything. Whereas no matter what, Archon of Cruelty will help you, and the life gain in particular is really good against a lot of the aggressive decks. So, given that we have no artifacts and no creatures other than this, how do we put them into play? Various token makers. The best one is Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So when you play this, it creates a 2/2, and when the goblin attacks, you create a treasure token. So it makes multiple bodies. On Chapter 2, it lets you discard 2 cards and draw 2, which is really good for digging toward your combo. Early on, you can get stuck with Archons in your hand that are uncastable, so just looting those away and finding more lands, more interaction and whatnot is really good. And then finally, it becomes a 2/2 that can tap to make a copy of another creature. It's not super relevant. Sometimes you can make a copy of Archon of Cruelty, and that's a way to win through Bridge from Below, or, Ensnaring Bridge, or things like that. It also is just a way to make, like, sometimes 1 Archon isn't enough if the opponent has a big board, but if you have Reflection of Kiki Jiki, it's more than enough. However, primarily this is just there to create multiple tokens and loot through your deck. So even if, like, you play it, they kill your things, you get no treasure token, they kill it on the back half too. It creates 2 tokens and loots, all for the price of 3 mana, so really good. Our other spell token maker is Prismari Command, which can make a treasure token. It's a solid interactive card. It's never overpowering, but like blowing up an artifact and making our own treasure is nice. Also, looting can be really good here. Similarly to Fable of the Mirror Breaker, sometimes you just have 2 Archons in hand, and this essentially draws you 2 cards for no downside with an additional mode. So a pretty solid card. Another card that you sometimes see in these decks is Hard Evidence. Creates an 0/3 token and investigates. So it gives you 2 tokens, it sort of cantrips, it slows down early aggression. A solid card all around. It's a little clunky, and recently creativity decks have been cutting it. But weirdly, I seem to see everyone is playing either 4 or 0, a little bit of 3, but I actually think that makes the least sense. This is a card that you never want to draw in multiples, especially in your Spell Pierce deck. You don't have a ton of blue mana available, and so like drawing a bunch can be very awkward and stop you from holding up your interaction. But having 0 can also be tough because sometimes you need artifacts to target with creativity if they have removal to kill small creatures, and so having a few different ways to make artifacts is nice. So I really like this middle ground. You're almost never sad to draw 1. You never get stuck with situations where you draw multiple and it's clunky, both from blue mana and also from not being able to crack the clues. Overall, just been a really good card here for me as a one-of. And then the final way to make tokens is, of course, Dwarven Mine, which is sort of what the deck is built around to some extent. All of the lands in the deck are mountains, so you can make a lot of 1/1s, and this means that if you have nothing on board and you untap on your 4th turn, you can just play Dwarven Mine, Indomitable Creativity, and essentially win out of nowhere, which is the strength of this deck. To facilitate that, we're playing a mana base of all mountains, like I said. We have 1 Xander's Lounge. I'll get into the Black Splash in a moment. 3 Steam Vents, because we are primarily a blue-red deck. and 1 Blood Crypt. You want to have 2 black sources so you can hardcast Archon of Cruelty in the late game. And then beyond that, we just have tons of fetches, 4 Dwarven Mine and 1 basic mountain. So basically, we don't have that many spells on turn 1, so the hope is to go turn 1 Xander's Lounge, turn 2 fetch a basic mountain. Sometimes you need a shock 1 time on turn 3, but then turn 4 on, you can just get Dwarven Mines. And so that is a real benefit of this deck. You're shocking yourself 0 to 1 times per game versus with the 4 or 5 color versions, you're shocking yourself 3 times a game, at least, often even more. You could like shock yourself 3 times and still not be able to cast your spells on curve, whereas this deck is just way more consistent in that regard. So that is the primary pro of this deck over those builds. In terms of interaction, we have a lot of cheap interaction, of course. You need that in this format. 3 Spell Pierce and 4 Lightning Bolt are our primary interactive spells for turn 1 and turn 2. Just very efficient removal. This is not really an Unholy Heat deck. We do have a lot of enchantments with the Fables, but I think this is a bit better than Unholy Heat for this deck still. Among other things, you don't really care about killing big things. Archon of Cruelty can do that, so you just want to keep up in the early turns. Also, Lightning Bolt can help burn out your opponent. There's games where your opponent has good removal for your Archon, but you can like get a couple enters the battlefield triggers, beat them down with Dwarven Mines, and then like burn them out with Bolt plus Fire Ice. So the being able to go face is very relevant. Spell Pierce is really popular now. Most blue decks are playing it, and this deck is no exception. I'm not playing 4. So you could actually play 4 Spell Pierce, but I'm playing 1 Hard Evidence because I think Spell Pierce it's decent, but it's a bad top deck, and you don't want to draw too many, especially against decks that are mostly creatures. So I've liked the 3-1 split here. For 2 mana spells, for Remand. Remand is not a card that you see a lot these days. It used to be super popular, but it's fallen out of favor a bit as the format has gotten faster. And I see why. Like, Remand is terrible against Ragavan and that sort of thing, but I think it has a lot of things going for it too. So some things that are specific to this deck. A pretty common thing is you play Indomitable Creativity, and then in response, they kill the thing that you're targeting. So Remand is great there. You can make them waste their Leyline Binding on a 1/1 Goblin. Then you remand your Creativity back to your hand and replay it next turn. That comes up a lot, actually, and it's very effective. This card's also just good against interaction in general, very good against opposing counterspells. It's also incredible against the Cascade decks, of which there's a lot right now. So there's Mono Blue Living End, and 4-color Rhinos and 3-color Rhinos. And Remand is great. You just put the Living End back in their hand where it's essentially worthless. That turns it into Counterspell and draw a card. Also good against Flashback, and there is some Flashback these days with Memory Deluge and Calibrated Blast. This is very good there. The other thing that I like this for is, it is just a cheap interactive spell. So if you're on the play, you get to Remand their 2-drop. Being able to interact while drawing cards and hitting land drops is very good. So Remand has just been a pretty solid card all around. It's also a counterspell that we can cast. Like, the card counterspell is better than Remand in a lot of circumstances, but it's hard on the mana, especially with all these Dwarven Mines. So Remand is a castable counterspell that is good in all stages of the game, good in linear or in combo decks, and has occasional extra upside. Fire Ice is another excellent interactive spell. It's very similar to Remand. On turn 2, you just use Fire Ice to basically skip their turn and cantrip. You tap their land, they can't often do much, and then you can you're good to go. 4 Fire Ice and 4 Remand is a lot of this effect. So this is a bit of an experimental build. I haven't really seen any other decks running this, but I've liked it a lot. It gives you tons of interaction for turns 2 and 3 that lets you keep drawing cards, and occasionally Fire is just incredible if you get a shoot like Ragavan and Dragon's Rage Channeler. And then we're playing 1 Transmogrify, quite a bit worse. It cannot target artifacts, and you can only do 1 at a time. And it's like, the upside of it being easier to cast is pretty much irrelevant because all of our lands make red mana. But still, sometimes you just want a little bit of redundancy, so I like having a 5th copy. Another consideration with this deck is how many Archons of Cruelty to play. We're playing 4. I've seen some people play 3, but I think that's wrong. I tested that a little bit, but it's pretty common to draw 1 or 2 Archons early on. And if you're playing 3 and you draw 2, it's really, really hard to win. And we also have plenty of ways to loot it away. 6 different ways to loot. So, if you draw 1, you have plenty of ways to discard it. The last card here, Expressive Iteration, just an incredible card. I've seen a lot of decks not playing this. I think it's way better than Wrenn and 6, frankly, in this sort of deck. It gives you it gives you dig, so you can dig toward your combo piece. If you, in like most builds of this deck, even if you're playing the Planeswalker package, your deck is pretty anemic if you aren't comboing. And so in the games where you just don't draw one of your combo pieces, or you draw one and the thought sees it, having relatively little targeted card draw like this is really a problem. So I've loved having 4 Expressive Iteration, probably the best card in the deck. It feels so good to cast this card, especially when you see an Arcana and you can just like nicely tuck it at the bottom of the deck. You don't need to draw it, but it's there when you need it. Just a great card. Finally, I am playing 1 Cling to Dust as the only normal spell to cast. This is a bit of a pet card of mine. I don't think you need to play it by any means, but it's basically free. With all these fetch lands, we're going to have a black mana at some point. You don't care about playing this card on turn 1. We have no ways of using the graveyard at all in this deck. So I like having 1 Cling as just like, you cast it for cheap early on, it cycles, doesn't do too much, but then it gives you a lot of power in the late game. With so many fetch lands, you almost always have cards to escape this, so you spend 1 mana, draw a card early on, and then it becomes a powerful recursive card advantage engine in the late game. Also can gain life in a pinch, and then sometimes you just like spike it against Dredge and just win. So it's solid. It's not like, don't read too much into it. It's not like we're building around this card, but it's basically free to play and gives a lot of card advantage in the long game. So that's the main deck. I think it's really strong. I got a trophy in the last league that I played with it. I'll touch briefly on the sideboard. This is another key tech of mine, 4 Thoughtseize. Easily the best card in the sideboard. I don't know why Ever Creativity deck has not been playing this for months. You're already playing black lands. In matchups where your life total doesn't matter, this is the best card in the whole format that you can play. It breaks up your opponent's combos. It protects your combo. It's a good interactive spell. You can loot it away late. Just a really, really strong card, and I'm shocked that I haven't seen more of this in these sorts of decks. You also got to have your 1 mana counterspells. 3 Flusterstorm primarily for breaking up opposing combos. Also pretty good at defending your creatures from removal. And 3 Mystical Dispute. This way we get to go up to 8 1 mana counterspells post board, which is really good in a lot of the comboed matchups. I'm playing 1 Leyline of the Void, kind of a weird addition, but I wanted 1 more card that dealt with a graveyard. You could play Ashiok in this slot, but this is another situation where I kind of like having the Leyline. If you get it in the opener, great. If you draw it late, you can usually cycle it away with Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This is a bit of a flex spot, though. 2 Alpine Moons for primarily the card Urza's Saga. You can just overpower Urza's Saga deck, so that's why we're not playing too much artifact hate in the board, but just a solid card. Also shuts down Tron, good against Amulet. Another Prismari Command. This is the R1 concession to artifact decks. It's just also a good generic card. In matchups where Bolt is bad, you can bring it in, and it's never going to be the best card in your deck, but it's pretty solid. And then I'm playing 2 more targets that are kind of non-standard, Sunring Titan and Inferno Titan. I really like having Titans, I guess. These cards have been really good for a bunch of opponents bringing Necromentia or cards like that, ways to just take out your Archons and neutralize them. And that's pretty bad. This deck is weak when you don't have the Archon thing going. So against most black decks that I think are playing that, I like to bring in at least 1 Inferno Titan as a 5th target. It's also very hard castable, especially in post-sideboard games when things slow down a bit. You can just get up to 6 mana. And then 1 Sunring Titan, similar logic. I just wanted to have additional threats, but this is also a very good threat in a lot of matchups like 4-color control, like the Omnath deck, or against Amulet Titan. So I've liked these. There's some matchups against, like, if you're playing Burn, you want to hit an Archon every time, and it's a disaster if you hit something else. But in certain matchups, you slow down a little bit. You're not as all in on the combo. You don't need the consistency of always hitting Archon, so I've liked having some other options to diversify, beat Necromentia, and just give a little bit more top end for grindy matchups. So that is the deck. Again, to reiterate, the power level is a little bit lower than the Domain version because Leyline Binding is better than our removal, and Ren 6 and Teferi are both excellent spells that just interact and accumulate a lot of value. This deck is a lot more streamlined, so we're not going to have to mulligan as much due to bad mana. We're not going to have to shock ourselves as much, so our life total is better. We have a way better burn matchup. And then we have more consistent interaction. So 4 mana, 4 Fire Ice. We're going to have an interactive spell on turn 2 every game. 7 1-mana interactive spells. We're going to have one of those pretty much every game. Good card draw. Lots of combo. Just very consistent and solidly interactive, and a really good deck. I'm excited to see how it goes. I know y'all love Vintage Cube, and I do too, but I think you'll enjoy this one too. So I'll see you in round 1. All right, we have our opponent for round 1. We're playing against Sonkers. We are on the play, and we have a very good hand. I will keep this. I think I'm just going to play the Xander's Lounge on turn 1. If they play turn 1 Amulet, I'll regret this. But pretty much any other play they could make here, we're fine with the rest of our hand. Cling to Dust is not a card you want in the opener. We're probably going to end up cycling it, but it's not. This is not the situation we want this for. Okay, Watery Grave, pass. We're definitely just going to hold up Remand here. And I might just, like, if they do nothing, I'll just crack this first tap Steam Vents and Cling to Dust my own fetch land. Like, this is just an early cantrip. I don't care about building up my graveyard that much. So we'll grab Steam Vents tapped, and then Cling. And now, just look, this was like essentially free. We wouldn't have used this mana otherwise. Now there's a Cling to Dust in our graveyard, and that'll give us tons of value in the long game. Although, right now I'm more interested in the short game and hitting land drops. Archon was a bad draw there, of course. Okay, opponent plays Impulse. I'm not going to remand that. If they played an Impulse on their turn, I would remand it, but I don't want them to untap and just, like, slam some 3-mana threat that we can't deal with effectively. If they just pass again, we're in a pretty awkward spot, though. Okay, yeah, we need to hit a land drop pretty badly. Fire Ice. Not what I was looking for. So we're going to have to pass. I'm playing 24 lands, which is a pretty high land count, but we also really do want to hit. Like, hitting your first 4 land drops is very important, and hitting your 5th land drop is good, too, to creativity for more. Okay, they're playing some cantrips over there. That's fine. Worth noting, Hall of Storm Giants is kind of tough for us to deal with. It's bigger than Archon, and it's not a creature unless they want it to be a creature, so Archon doesn't kill it. We can race it pretty easily, but that is still worth noting. Okay, end of turn, we're going to tap down Watery Grave. And if they fight over this and we get the Spell Pierce back, that'd be great, but that would be shocking. Okay, now I'm going to go for Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And I'm going to fetch. We're going to put multiple bodies into play here, so we're going to grab Dwarven Mine number 2 and play Fable with Spell Pierce back up. And you want to keep at least, like, you can run out of Dwarven Mines here. Okay, they Spell Pierce, we Spell Pierce back. If they have a second Spell Pierce, fair enough. But you don't want to run out of Dwarven Mines. Like, it's important to be able to make tokens even in the mid-game. And so I'm probably not going to grab another Dwarf token until I need it. And as for what to discard, we're certainly discarding 1 Archon. Could discard the Scalding Tarn. Could discard the Bolt. I think I want to keep both remands here unless they play something pretty dramatic. Okay, Bolt makes it easy. Let's discard Archon Bolt. Okay, that's a great draw. Expressive Iteration. I think we're still going to pass for now, though. We're just going to hit for 1, hold up double remand, and then we can just Cling to Dust and turn to cycle. And now you're seeing instantly right off the bat, like, for almost no benefit, we just have a card advantage engine. Or almost no cost, we have a little card advantage engine going. Oh, and I was talking about Remand. I also forgot to mention, it sort of goes without saying, but incredible against the card Murktide Regent. I don't think our opponent's playing Murktide, but it's very nice. Okay, so we could let this resolve and then still hold up Cling to Dust, but I think it's worth it to remand here. If you can remand a card that costs more than 2, it's a pretty good exchange. I think it's worth it. End of turn, I'm going to be just cracking this Scalding Tarn for a Blood Crypt, I think. We're getting towards the Hardcast Archon territory. All right, they're making another play. We have a second remand. They can counter our second remand, but then maybe we'll get a window to resolve something. Okay, they play remand. We know they have Archmage Charm. We'll remand it. They're going to charm our remand. But then if we... Oh, they just let it resolve. Sweet. So we just got to nuke their graveyard for free. Let's just grab our tapped land here. And actually, given that we still have remand in hand, I think I will just take another Steam Vents. We might want to have lots of blue mana next turn. All right, so we make our dude. Another Fable is a good draw. I'm not going to play it right now, though. I'm going to start with Iteration. If they counter this, Or okay, they just let it resolve. Sweet. Not the best hits, though. Let's put another Remand into our hand. Pierce on the bottom. Exile Fire Ice. And then we'll just cycle it. This is slightly risky. We're going to not be able to have up double Remand, but I don't think that's that big of a problem. So do we want to Remand this again? Oh, they don't even go for it. All right, so we'll hit them for 1, and then pass with the Remand available. And this is a key turn. If they don't do anything this turn, I don't really see a way they can win. Just another impulse, that's fine. We just have such a stacked hand with multiple pieces of permission, and we're ahead on board. I guess they could just get aggressive with the Hall of Storm Giants, but then Dwarven Mine tokens block that really effectively, so it seems fine. They just pass. Excellent. We still haven't drawn a creativity, but it's been fine so far. Okay. Interesting. They're holding Archmage Charm still. Let's start by attacking with both. Snapcaster Mage. Okay, I'm going to let the Snapcaster resolve. They can trade it with a reflection of the Mirror Breaker. That's fine. We can Remand the Impulse. Oh, we also could have Cling to Dust, but I think it's still better to just use Remand here. Gonna let this all happen. I don't really want to tap out right now. And then I'm going to pass, and our plan is to Remand the Impulse, and then hopefully just be able to Cling to Dust end of turn. Jeez. We have tons of gas in hand. We need to draw lands. Again, we're playing a pretty high land count. All right, they make no play, so I'm not going to use the Prismari command here. I'm going to Cling to Dust my own Fire Ice. Again, like, I don't really care about how many cards we have in Graveyard. As you can see, we have tons. So we'll just delve away some stuff. Draw a card. If we exile their Snapcaster Mage, we gain life. I'd rather draw a card than gain life. Okay, there's the land. That's nice. And another iteration. Okay, how many lands do we have? A decent number. One option is just play it, the Fable and pass. All right, I'm going to start by playing a Fable. Actually, well, so the question is, do we want to play these iterations this turn? I don't think the answer is yes. When you have this many cards in hand, that's not really the time you need iteration. I'm not going to discard them to the Fables, but we're just going to play this. Hopefully it resolves, and then we can just pass. They play Counterspell. Okay, so we could Remand our own Fable. I don't think that's worth it, though. I think I'm just going to let this happen, and then hit for 1 and pass, and end of turn, go for another Cling. I think they're still holding that Archmage Charm. So they're holding Archmage Charm, Murktide Regent, and 2 unknowns. So yeah, I'll let this resolve. That's fine. I don't even care that much about the Murktide. I guess, well, actually, we don't have an answer for it right now. And we've gone through half of our deck and still found none of our 5 combo pieces, which is kind of crazy. If they go for a 5/5 Murktide, we can go for Remand. All right, they don't even do it, so it's fine. I'm going to grab another Dwarf, leaving 1 more in the deck. And we'll Cling to Dust their Archmage Charm. If they want to go Snapcaster Archmage Charm in response, then they're mostly tapped out. That's good for us. All right. Getting kind of close to being able to burn them out. We have 8 points of burn in hand, plus a lot of card draw. There's another land, which is good. Let's start by attacking for 2. This might be fun if we just win the first game without ever casting our combo. Alright, Expressive Iteration. No way they counter this with us having this many cards in hand. At least I would not counter this if I were them. Okay, Transmogrify in the hand. This in the bottom, elect out the land. Play the land. Play the Fable. And then we don't really care. They could counter this or not counter it. Okay, they're going for Snap Counterspell. I think I'm just going to let this happen, honestly. I don't think we care too much about this. I just want to keep the Remand available. I'm just going to bolt my opponent down to 7 and pass. So we should always keep our tabs on the random hull swing, but they can hit us for 9. That's not lethal, even if they do like Shark Typhoon type stuff here. Okay, could remand this Archmage Charm, but I think I'm going to hold the remand. Again, I'm not too worried about losing a card advantage game. What I want to avoid is a situation where they can like play Murktide with multiple counterspells back up and then just win with 1 or 2 swings. And I mean, the Archmage Charm can help set that up, but I still think this is fine. They just pass. Now I am going to grab the last dwarf just because the beatdown plan is real. I think I'm actually just going to fire off a bolt on their face. If they counter this, it's fine, but if it resolves and they go down to 4. Okay, yeah, they Spell Pierce. I guess kind of annoying that we walk into Spell Pierce there, but not that bad. I think we're in a really good position. Okay, so let's go Iteration to start. Drown in the Lock. Okay, I'm going to Remand. We could, if we had fewer cards in our library or in our graveyard, we could actually cling away to dodge this. But let's Remand our own iteration. If this works, then that's just great value for us. If they counter this, then they're tapping low on mana, and we might be able to get Transmogrify to resolve. Sweet, that works. So this fizzles. Let's go land, swing for 3. And if they want to trade with Snapcaster Mage, that's totally fine. Yep. And now we could tap out or play Fable of the Mirror Breaker, but I'm going to pass and just use Cling. Yeah, I think that's a bit better here. They could be going for Murktide. Do we want... No, I'm not... So we could now exile something with Cling to hedge against Murktide, make it a little smaller, but I don't think that's worth it. They are casting the Murktide here. They're at 5. We have Prismari Command. We have how many bolts left in our deck? Only 1 more bolt. It's kind of funny that all 4 of our creativities are still in our deck, and also 2 more of our Archons. Very grindy match right out the gate. This is a matchup where I think the 5-color version would be better. Okay, so I'm going to Cling to Dust in response here on Drown in the Lock. If the Murktide resolve first, we would grow their Murktide, which I don't really want to do. I don't think it's super relevant, but could be. If they counter this Murktide, like they might have another Spell Pierce. That's totally fine. You can see the value of this Cling to Dust here. This is our 4th time casting it. All right, we draw a card. Spell Pierce of our own. That's interesting. We don't have access to it right now, but that could be good. I assume they just pass, so we'll grab our black-red land, so we can hardcast our Archon now at long last if we want to. take our draw step, see what we hit. There's the creativity. Okay. How do we want to play this? We have 4, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. So we can play Creativity plus Transmogrify plus Spell Pierce. We can't do all of those and Expressive Iteration, though. They're pretty likely to have Fatal Pushes, so that makes the Creativity seem a bit worse. Do we need to make our move this turn? Not necessarily. But it doesn't seem great to just play a Transmogrify. Let's start with Expressive Iteration. Okay. We don't need the lands at all. We only have one more fetchable land. So we'll go Creativity in hand, Bloodstained Mire on the bottom, exile Creativity. Then we'll play land and go for the Creativity. I guess I'll just target both dwarves. So if they have double Fatal Push here, they can fizzle this. Okay, they have Counterspell. That does it too. Okay, then I think, given this, we just pass. We have 2 blockers left, so I'm not too worried about the Hall of Storm Giants. We can go end of turn, Prismatic Command to loot and deal them 2 damage to put them to 3. So 1 Archon trigger kills them. Close game. So we are going to die next turn unless we can kill their Archon. Again, these work as removal spells too, so we can potentially kill their Archon with that, but it's going to be really close. So we go grab this, and then Prismatic Command to deal 2 damage to any target and loot. Also worth noting, I believe we still have a couple Fire Ices left in the deck. Yeah, we have 2 Fire Ices left. Tapping the Murktide Regent would be really good. Okay, they have another Spell Pierce. They're playing a lot of Spell Pierces for a control deck. I guess they're not super controlling if they're trying to be like Murktide tempo, though. So they have 3 cards. We have multiple must-enter threats. Okay, if they go for double push... Okay, push, snap, push. This is fine. They're tapped pretty low now. So we can we should be able to resolve a creativity here. We don't have any tokens right now, but we can make one with Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Hard Evidence would be our best draw, funnily enough. Another Archon, not our best draw. We could just hardcast Archon with Spell Pierce up. The problem with hardcasting Archon, though, is that it probably doesn't even win. But now that we have all these Archons in our hand, we can't... I think that's our only real line, unfortunately. So, hardcast Archon of Cruelty. It resolves, so they lose their last card in their hand. Okay, if we had one more land, we could play... Oh, this is going to be rough. We might lose to the Hall of Storm Giants now. Because we have exactly 2 low life. We're going to play... yeah, we're definitely out of fetchable lands. So... I'll play land just to bluff and pass. And if they just animate Hall of the Storm Giants and go for it, we die. They have enough mana to do it. If they just swing with Murktide, we can chump block. They found a line, though. Brutal. So we're going to die exactly. We're at 7. We take 7. They're at 2. We don't have the bolt. Really frustrating way to lose that game 1. I thought we were massively ahead. And there's 100% ways that we could have won that. I don't know. I don't think there's any clear misplays that I identified, but like just the sheer number of decisions, there's many ways we could have won there. So tough loss in the first round. I really thought we were going to win that game. All right, how do we want to sideboard for this matchup? Thoughtseize would have made that so much easier, so we'll definitely bring in the Thoughtseize. Also, maybe we could have clinged to dust to gain life at some point. That possibly would have been the win line. They could be playing the Necromentia I think I will hedge and bring in one of these things. Yeah, I'll bring in one Sundering Titan. I don't want the bolts. Don't really love Prismari commands. Flusterstorm is good against their counter magic. Mystical Dispute is good against their Murktides. I want to have all of the pieces of top end. I think I'll cut one Transmogrify. It's not like a speed combo matchup, and this card's bad against Fatal Push. All right, I believe these are all cards that I definitely want. I guess we can cut a Hard Evidence. We don't need, like, blocking is not relevant. So then it's Fire Ice is cuttable. I like the card in the matchup, but it is cuttable. Could cut a land, but yeah, I think I'll trim 2 Fire Ice and run it like this. Fire Ice is totally serviceable, but I think all the other cards are a bit better. So we're going first. We're definitely keeping. I think this is a situation where we just lead on a turn 1 Dwarven Mine. It's pretty unlikely that we're going to hit running lands to be able to make a token here, unfortunately. Okay, we'll play this. We can just fetch a Steam Vents if we need to remand. Otherwise, we can grab our Triome. Not going to counter this Consider. Our life total is not super relevant in this matchup, but it's obviously not irrelevant. If we had one more life, we could have won the last game. So I'm not going to just, like, shock to take out this Consider. I think I'm just going to get another tap land into play and continue playing Drago. Impulse is fine. If we get to the late game, I'll use my Spell Pierce on anything that we can pierce. But early, like, we want to use this to defend our creativity or stop. Like, maybe countering an Archmage Charm would be worth it. But just card selection, that's not that important. All right, Cling to Dust on Impulse. We want to hit Impulse because if we did Consider, they could go Snap Consider in response. Okay, so we now have the iteration of, or the creativity available to us. We could play. I think I'm going to play Iteration. If they Spell Pierce, we can Mystical Dispute back. The thing is, if we have a fight on our turn and they win the fight, oh nice, we get a Spell Pierce. If they win this fight, and then they're like, oh, now our opponent's tapped out, they can't really afford to make a proactive play on their turn because our combo is just so much better than what they would be doing. Okay, do we want Remand or Flusterstorm? I think we want the cheaper card, so we'll take Fluster, put Remand on the bottom, exile Scalding Tarn. And now we have Mystical Dispute available, and then next turn we can Creativity with Counterspell back up. But I think I want to wait until we can Creativity a little bit more. They just pass again. Okay, I'm still going to get another blue source. Not going to worry about making the dwarf tokens yet. Interesting. Okay. That's a good signal that now we could potentially make a move. If they tap any of their mana, we can ice to tap one of their additional blue sources at the end of the turn. Snapcaster Mage. I think we're going to let the Snap resolve, but then remand the Consider. Another remand, good draw. Now we have a few options. We could just get a dwarf and and ambush the Snapcaster Mage here, but I think our dwarves are more valuable than that. Although at the same time, actually I am going to do this. It means we can't Creativity right now, but again, this isn't really a matchup where we're trying to rush into Creativity anyways. And as long as they have no pressure, they need to make a move, and we can sort of time our move accordingly. So we're not going to use the ice here. We're going to save that. Untapping, we can cling this turn. All right. Looking good. It was looking good last game too, and we lost, so that obviously doesn't mean that we're out of the woods, but we do need to get some tokens going. 2 Dwarven Mines are gone, and we don't have hard evidence. Oh, they just pass. Okay. Cling to Dust on Counterspell. Alright, there's another Dwarven Mine. I'm not going to worry about Dwarven Mine this turn, though. Well, actually, I will play this. We're not going to crack it end of turn to get a Dwarf token to start beating down, necessarily. But if they make a move, then we want to be able to respond with a powerful play. They just go to discard. I'm totally happy letting them discard something. Murktide down. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I'm still not going to play anything this turn, though. Like, they are 100% to have at least one counterspell. And if they're discarding a hand size, I'm fine just getting value that way. All right, they go to discard once again. I don't want to go to discard. So if we draw a brick, I might cast the Fable. Okay, yeah, I will cast the Fable. They're probably going to counter this, and we can decide if we want to counter back. Do we want to remand our own spell? No, I'm just going to Mystical Dispute this. I want to keep my mana available through their turn, if possible. Alright, Fable resolves. We actually have a really good hand, so we don't particularly need to... we don't have like a bunch of stuff we want to loot away necessarily. But this puts a lot of pressure on them. If we can start attacking and making treasures every turn, they're going to lose. They just pass. So I think I'm going to go for these ices now. They're pretty likely to have Fatal Push. So if we ice one of their things, they'll just Fatal Push our Goblin. And then we'll need to decide if we want to counter back. They're considering making a move here. There's no way that... I mean, they might need to make a move from their information set, but I don't see any way we could possibly lose if they cast a spell in their main phase here. Alright, they are going to do something. They're going for the Murktide. That does not seem like it's going to go very well for our poor opponent over there. Make another Dwarf and Remand. And then they just go to end step. We get to ice to tap one of their lands. And then in our draw step, I'm going to consider icing to tap the other land. Okay, they spell Pierce the Ice. That's fine. I'm going to go to my draw step. Okay, yeah, let's go ice, tap their last land. They want to spell Pierce this or something like that. That's totally fine. Well, we went down to 2 ices, but then they were both really good. So we now get to do this loot. Let's discard Creativity Fable. Alright, we can just do everything. So we'll Thoughtseize. They should just concede, but they hopefully don't, so we get to see some information. They're holding a lot of spells, so I guess, okay, they do concede. They could have had like multiple forces of negation, maybe, but pretty easy game there. That played out basically like a control mirror. It didn't even matter that we were playing the combo. Like, we were just going to outvalue them pretty easily there. So they're just straight up blue-black Murktide. They're not playing Thoughtseize, it looks like. Their threats are Murktide Regent and Snapcaster Mage. Spreading Seas is good to be aware of. That card is good against us because our mana base is kind of sketchy. We only have 2 black sources in the entire deck, so if they Spreading Seas, Xander's Lounge, we can never cast Archon, and we can't interact with the Spreading Seas either. And it is also good for just delaying our dwarfs. Then we can't get those going until at least our 5th land. All right, do we want to make any changes here? Ice felt really good. Hard Evidence also seems pretty good because they just could, like, killing all of our tokens is a real win condition for them. But I don't want to cut any of the cheap counter magic. Don't want to cut the Thoughtseize. I don't want to cut Cling. I mean, it wasn't overpoweringly good there, but it was a nice 2-for-1. I think we need the Fables. Could cut 1 Archon. Yeah, I think it's fine to cut 1 Archon and then bring in 1 more Fire Ice. Is there any argument to cutting a Creativity, actually? No. We didn't see any Thoughtseizes, but we don't want to just, get Thoughtseized and then not be able to do anything that powerful. Just playing a draw-go counter-spell game plan is fine, but it's not good against their best draws. I don't think we need Leyline. It is good against them if we have it in our opener, but I'd rather just fight them on fair ground and not have dead draws later in the game. Do we just run it with these 3 Fire Ices? Yeah, we'll submit like this. The other option is we could cut 1 Spell Pierce and just bank on the game going long, but I think even in a long game, there's going to be games or turns where it's counter, 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 and just having the Spell Pierce at the end of that is good. Double Dwarven Mine in the opener is super awkward, and Southern Titan is too, but I think I am going to keep it. The most important thing in these matchups is to hit land drops and have some counter magic, and we have great counter magic and some land drops. So I'm going to actually try and bait them. I want them to Spreading Seas this Dwarven Mine here. It makes our mana better, and we have plenty of red sources, so I'm not too worried about Dwarven Mine not getting there. And what I don't want is for them to take out our black sources. Do they have the seas? 2 basic islands. Interesting. All right, Fable is a good draw. One thing I didn't mention to this point, it kind of goes without saying, but all fetch lands are exactly the same in this deck. Every single fetchable land is a mountain, so Scalding Tarn, even though we are technically blue-red, Scalding Tarn is no better than an Arid Mesa or anything else. And in fact, given that, you probably get 0.001 percentage points to play weird lands. Maybe if you play Arid Mesa Go on turn 1, they'll think you're playing Burn and tread gingerly with their life total unnecessarily. All right, Xander's Lounge. Got our first blue source. Another land is a good draw. I just want to play Draw Go for a while here. Southern Titan is only okay in this matchup. Archon is usually better. This is just a hedge against them taking out all of our Archons. Okay, let's Spell Pierce this. Yeah, let's Spell Pierce. Could Remand, but I don't really want to pass with just Spell Pierce up. Then they could resolve the Murktide. It would be kind of risky for them to tap out for Murktide because, in theory, we could just respond with creativity. But we don't have the creativity, so I don't really want to incentivize them to go for that. Okay, they just pass again. That's good for us. Or, medium for us, kind of to be expected. Get our Steam Vents into play tapped. And untap. Thoughtseize. Interesting. All right, not going to do that now, but that's a good draw. We need to... the timing of Thoughtseize in this matchup, or in these sorts of matchups, is very interesting. Okay, I will Remand this. Still just getting blue sources for now. I think next turn we also hold off, but then the turn after we can make a move. Ooh, Mystical Dispute. Does that change things? I think it does. Yeah, I'm going to play Dwarven Mine into... Well, no. Actually, let's play Thoughtseize to start. They can't play Veil of Summer, so this should resolve. And then hopefully it can Alright, so their hand is just mono counter magic. That shouldn't come as a surprise. Even if we take one of their counter spells, we can't take them off of both. Odawar is good against our Archon. I guess I'll take the Drown. It's bad against Cling to Dust, but we don't have the Cling. And it killing a token could be annoying. Actually, no, maybe Counterspell is just better. Yeah, I'll take Counterspell. But unfortunately, we cannot get our Fable of the Mirror Breaker through this turn. Actually, no, sorry. Fine. This is close. Any of the 4 options are kind of reasonable here, and they're also all so similar. They're probably just going to fire off this Archmage Charm end of turn, and then I like the idea of just lining up a Mystical Dispute with that. Yeah, I'll take the Drown. And then we'll play Mesa and pass. And then our expectation is that they play the Charm end of turn. We dispute it. Yep. So we know that this will work. So they're holding just 2 counterspells and an Odawara. That's a pretty weak hand. I think we are now at a point where I'm going to start going for the Goblin Beats. So let's grab Dwarven Mine number 2. Creativity, okay. So we'll swing. And now we have a few options. We could play, or I think we probably want to play Dwarven Mine, and then we can play the Fable. And if they had, like, it would be awesome if we could remand our own Fable of the Mirror Breaker here, but that's not really going to work. The question is, do we just want to draw out both of their counterspells? They're holding counterspell and 1 unknown. Honestly, I think I will. I'll remand the Fable here. Like, they could counter and then untap and slam Murktide, but that doesn't really do anything. We're representing another counterspell, but they don't play around it. Okay. So that happens. Basically, all of the cards we saw in their hand traded down. They have 1 card. We have 2 cards. We have board presence. We have the same number of lands. It looks good for us. Do they have a counterspell? Probably. Cling to Dust was a phenomenal draw. All right, I think I will make them have it here. We just win if this resolves. If I was 100% sure they had a counterspell, I wouldn't do this. I think it's very likely that they do, but this beats a removal spell. And if they have a counterspell again, we could just like hardcast Sundering Titan soon. If they have Snapcaster Mage, Cling to Dust beats that. So this beats a lot of the stuff they could have. If they did just draw like the 3rd counterspell, then like you got me. That was probably trading with creativity later too. Like the argument is you can wait to hold up until you have Thoughtseize. That's actually kind of funny. Cling to Dust could get around that eventually, but not yet. So this happens. We pass. All right, let's start going through some of this graveyard. Cling to Dust, counterspell. I don't really want to do Archmage Charms because, again, if they draw Snapcaster Mage, that could get kind of awkward. Okay, that's not a bad draw, actually, but not playing it here. So we'll start by attacking for 2. All right. Tap land, go. And the plan is to go end of turn, Cling with Fire Ice. Back up. Could Cling in response. I think I will. Okay, we draw Archon. That does not help. One more land and we can start hard casting these huge dudes in our hand. Also, they're at 9 and we're beating down, so we're pressuring them from multiple angles. They do now have more cards in hand than us, though. Okay, they take out our second black source. That's actually really annoying. Now this Archon of Cruelty is uncastable. We do have the Blood Crypt, so we can keep on clinging, but that is not good for us. I think I'm just going to fire off this ice as largely as a cantrip. It's not like forcing through creativity this turn, but I think that's okay. And if they spell pierce this or something, that's also fine. Thoughtseize, interesting. Definitely constrained on black mana here. Start by attacking. And then we could just start jamming. I mean, I guess I don't... We can't start jamming. We have one threat we can jam. The Archon of Cruelty is dead. I think I'm going to main phase draw a card off this Cling, though. See what we hit. Fable. Interesting decision. If we play it, they could spell pierce, and they haven't played any pierces yet this game, so I think it's pretty likely they have one. So I'm not going to play it. I think I will get the Steam Vents into play. Could also hold that to discard to the Fable, but we already have the Archon to discard, and in a matchup where both people are playing stuff like spell pierce, an extra land can help in random circumstances. Okay, so they just passed. They're at 7. We're hitting for 1. Flooded Strand is a good draw. Or, Fetch Land is a good draw. Generic red Fetch Land. Let's play the Wooded Foothills. Go to combat. Attempt to hit for 1. Alright, now we can Thoughtseize. Our life total is getting a little low, but I'm not too worried about it. So if they have nothing, we could just jam Sundering Titan. Okay, they counter that. We cannot cling it away. So that happens. Now we'll jam the Fable. And the Fable gives us extra black mana, so we actually could potentially hardcast Archon still. Bummer. They had double counter spell. Alright. Now they can grab a land and play their Brazen Borrower. They only have one card. If their last card is a Murktide Regent, we're in pretty bad... If their last card is a Murktide Regent and they go for it, we're in pretty bad shape. One land, then they just go to combat and swing. Okay. I think I don't mind losing a life here. I don't love it, but it doesn't change their clock. So we get the last Dwarven Mine. And now we can hit for 2. Ooh. Let's start with that, actually. We can still hardcast Sundering Titan if we hit land. Oh, wow, okay. Hand, bottom of library, exile 1. That's the last fetchable land in our deck. So now we could go for hardcasting Sundering Titan, but I think it's better to just play another iteration. Okay, we'll go hand, bottom of library, exile, and then we'll try to fire to kill this and hit them down to 1. All right, that works. Could go for the creativity, but I don't think there's a need to risk that. We can just hold up Cling to Dust, and then, I mean, they're dead to these 2 dwarves next turn, and then our hand is 3 Haymakers. All right, sweet. Very long and pretty epic, frankly, first round, but we do manage to take it down against Blue-Black Murktide. We're 1-0. I'll see you in round 2. All right, we have our opponent for round 2. Uganda's rank 1. Interesting. We're on the play, and we have a good hand. Archon in the opener is obviously not great, but we have perfect mana, 2 interactive spells, and our combo piece. That was a weird matchup where we almost didn't even play like a creativity deck. We were just like Grixis mid range. But in most matchups, you're trying to play creativity as soon as you can. Interesting. I think I actually am going to Spell Pierce this. I was planning on getting a tapped land here, but like it depends. I've seen games where this does nothing, but I've also seen games where it's really good. And whatever the long name card, Asmiranda something, is good against Archon. So if they can put a bunch of food into play, it can be annoying. Iteration, great draw. So now we can go ice their land into Iteration and set up for a turn 4 combo. You'll notice the reason I don't like playing with the reason I don't like playing control with this deck is a lot of our stuff is tempo-y like this. Like spell pierce your play, tap your land, remand your spell back to your hand. We don't have that many ways to like actually deal with things in the long run. So you need to just like stall and then win rather than like answering all their threats and then winning. Okay, double Archon in the opener is very bad. We really need to avoid drawing a third. Okay, let's go Pierce in hand, Fable on the bottom, Exile Cling, and then we can just Cling the Underworld Cookbook. Paying a lot of life here, but that's probably fine. This also might take them off of the scent that we're playing a combo deck. They might just think we're some sort of weird Grixis mid-range deck. Now, if they just pass and leave up mana for Urza's Saga, it's kind of interesting. We could go for it, and then if they have something to break up our combo, they're not making a Saga token at least. Cycle Street Wraith. What is this? Search your library for a black card with a mana value less than or equal to the number of cards. So they can search for a black card that costs 1. Malakir Rebirth. Oh, that's cute. We get to put an Archon into play, though. And they might be able to beat it, but they also... Oh my gosh, that's the 3rd Archon. So it's very good we're playing 4. Wow. That's kind of brutal. Hopefully this 1 Archon is enough. We can't back it up with Spell Pierce right now. They did have the Overflow Chase Daredevil, so it's a good thing we did not go for, or we didn't let them resolve their Underworld Cookbook. There is their Underworld Cookbook, though. And yeah, if they have Asmo plus 2 food here, we basically die. That is very, very annoying that we drew 3 out of our 4 Archons in the first 20 cards. We can win even if we don't have the Archons hit the battlefield, but it gets a lot harder when you're just winning with random 1-1 beats. Okay, they discard Academy Manufacturer. Unearth it. Second Cookbook. Okay, so they're going to be making tons of tokens here. But if they can't kill... Oh, no, do they have the Asmo? Because now they have 2 food. If they have Asmo, I'm not going to concede instantly, but it's like is over pretty much. What is this? Sacrifice to draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. Okay. They have lots of food. The question is just, do they have the Asmo? And there it is. And now they have like infinite food. We can kill this. But with all the Archons in our hand, I don't really see a way we can win. Yeah, I'm going to concede to this. We can't win from this position. Well, okay, the way we win from this position is if we kill both of these, and then they get really unlucky. So, make another Dwarf, and then we'll Creativity their 2 things. And then I don't even know exactly what we're hoping that they hit, but... Like, Creativity does nothing for us. If our Archons were in our deck, we're in a great position. We could just do more stuff. Okay, they hit double Asmo. That's 3 down. Tough one to lose there. They, all right, I'll just concede to this. So they're playing like mono black, it looks like. Mono black scam. They have like Grief, Malika, Rebirth stuff, and then they're playing the Asmo combo. Asmo is very good against us, so need to be aware of that. I haven't seen that much of this card recently, but if it's going to become really popular again, that is a problem. We can bring in Urza Saga, this to take out the Urza Saga. Prismari Command seems pretty good against their general deck. I'll bring in the one Leyline. Flusterstorm is an option, but it seems kind of bad. What do we not want? I think there's another matchup where we need to hedge against them having some hate, so let's bring in Inferno Titan. It sucks that it also dies to Asmo, which might mean that there's a better threat other than this. I wanted something that was hard castable, like pretty reasonable to hard cast, but also could win the game when you put it into play, and it's possible there's a better option than this. I'm not sure. For what to cut, Spell Pierce seems kind of medium, but we're on the play. It's probably good enough. Could cut the Fire Ices. I think I'll cut the Transmogrify. The Bolts are good against... Yeah, the Bolts actually seem pretty good. Fire is terrible of the Fire Ice combo, so I guess we'll go down to one Fire Ice again. I like this card, but it's never going to be your most important card. Actually, Remand seems kind of bad. Yeah, maybe Remand is worse. We go like 3-3 or 3-2. Sure, we'll run like that. We could also bring in Flusterstorm if we see more of their deck and it looks like it's better than I'm giving it credit for. Okay, this is a keep. We have the turn 1 Spell Pierce if they have turn 1 Underworld Cookbook again. We can be more, like Cling to Dust is actually really good hate against this matchup. So we might not just fire it off to cantrip early on. Okay. That is good against Archon of Cruelty. It just turns it into a 6/6. Yeah, that's just good. I haven't seen too much of that card recently, but that is a bit of a problem for this deck. Underworld Cookbook. Okay, let's counter. Definitely, like, if they have Leyline, if they have exactly one Leyline in their opening plus a perfect draw, we're going to lose. Oh, man, drawing the Archon there. Yeah, this might not be our match. We'll see. I mean, we can loot it away with Prismari Command, but that's not how you want to be using your command. Now the question is, can we find Alpine Moon? Blue and red iteration. Okay. I'll take a creativity. Just putting 6/6s with flying into play is not terrible. So, hand, bottom of library, exile. So we could go for the Archon now. I don't think that's worth it. If we could put, like, if it wasn't for the Leyline, I definitely would. But just getting a 6/6 into play this turn doesn't seem that good. Our hope is to put 2 6/6s into play sometime soon. So get the cookbook. Now let's see. This is kind of an interesting point. We could go Prismari Command. Okay, I think I'm going to go Prismari Command here. And we're going to kill the Underworld thing and loot. And the reason to do this now is it shrinks their thing. And we want to loot because our hand is just bad. Like, we have multiple cards we really don't want to have. So, destroy target artifact. We could also make a treasure token. But I think I'd rather loot. So, target player draws 2, then discards 2, destroy target artifact. And now if they discard an Oval Chase Daredevil in response, we have the Cling to Dust ready. Oh man, not hitting a land there is rough. We'll discard Archon, Fire Ice. Man, I really wanted to draw a fetch land there. If we drew a fetch land, we could put 2 Archons into play, and I think that would probably be enough. But unfortunately, we really just need to pass. This Inferno Titan will be good eventually. Okay, we could bolt this in response now. The question is, do we want to save bolt for an Asmo? I think I am going to bolt one, though. I really can't afford to let these get bigger than 3/3. With Archon trigger shut down, plus like just being behind in the race. Like, we can't really tempo them out. If their things get big, that's going to be a big problem. So we can Fire Ice to kill this construct if we want to. So this lets them search for a card that costs 1. Okay, we're going to let this resolve. If they're just going for the grief thing, that's really ineffective. Or they get Asmo. Okay, so we remand. Of course they were going to get this, not Malika Rebirth. Oh, they do have the thing. But they don't have Underworld. They don't have the cookbook going right now. They can get it going, but we might be able to kill the Asmo in time. So hopefully we can find a bolt off this expressive iteration. Ouch. That's terrible. Hand, bottom of library, exile 1. I mean, we can hardcast Inferno Titan next turn. They're going to have 2 food so they can kill the Titan, though. You don't even need to... Yeah, this Asmo is a big problem for us. So our hope is that they attack with the Asmo, and then we could block it with our 1/1 and fire to kill it. Unfortunately, we don't have an answer to this. Now, also, if they don't have the second thing... Oh my gosh. Okay, we can't have this. So we need to ice, tap the Underworld Cookbook. They can use it in response. Okay, just Leyline of Sanctity at least. We're taking a lot of damage here, but we can hardcast Inferno Titan. Kill their Asmo. Now, in response, they need to kill our Titan by sacking their foods, but that will also make their construct smaller. And then we chump block this turn, and next turn we put 3, 6... Oh, wait, did we cut one of the Archons? Yeah, we did. So we have 2 Archons left in our deck, so we can make 2 6/6s with flying next turn, and hope that's enough. If they find... I mean, they can make foods every turn, so there's a lot of stuff we lose to here. If they have a second Asmo, we lose... Oh my gosh. That's very frustrating. Okay. Play second cookbook. They're out of cards in hand, but now they have a 10/10 construct. So block here. And now, what's our plan? We get to make 2 Archon. Like, I mean, yeah, the real answer is we don't have a plan. We're going to lose this game. But theoretically, it's possible that we could win. So let's play Dwarven Mine. And play Indomitable Creativity, targeting this, this, this. And then we need to keep Bolt available, so I'm going to keep the Bolt for the Academy thing. This would be so game-ending if they didn't have this ley line in play. And if they kill this, then I guess technically we're not dead on board. Do we have any real ways to win? I mean, all of our good stuff is gone. We have no Archons or Inferno Titan left. I mean, yeah, we can't win from this position. They're at 13. If they were lower, maybe. All right, tough matchup. In game 1, I thought we were way ahead. In game 2, like, Leyline is good against us, and that's a real draw of the 5-color version. You have your removal hits their answers better. Like Bolt, in game 1, Bolt is basically as good as Leyline Binding in a lot of situations. But like having Out's Leyline of Sanctity is a real draw to that card. So certainly want to acknowledge the draw to that. In both of the matchups we've played so far, I would rather be playing the 5-color variant. Like that's better against slow decks that generate a lot of value. And our build is a lot better against linear decks and aggressive decks. So far we've played against 2 of the slower decks, but I mean, the metagame is much of both. All right, on the play here for round 3 against Tarnished Nick. I'll keep this hand. Archon in the opener is not good, of course, but we have probably our best card. We have good mana, an interactive spell. Missing the creativity, of course, but we have some good card draw to find it. Den of the Bugbear, interesting. Could be a number of different decks. They're not playing Obosh. Our opponent is deep in thought here. Almost anything they play could get bolted, so I'm fine with that. Okay, Verdant Catacomb. So they could be playing Jund. Croxa. Okay. That's fine. I'm going to discard the Archon. We didn't need that anyways. It kind of gives away what we're playing, but that's fine. Really weak start from the opponent. I mean, I guess I was going to say they didn't interact at all in the first 2 turns, but we have not either. The difference being we are a combo deck, so we can just win out of nowhere, and they need to take the initiative more. All right, so opponent says oof. They don't like the matchup. I think they're wise there. Let's play the iteration, looking for creativity. There's a creativity. It pains me to put a iteration on the bottom, but I think it is correct. We can shuffle our library here to put that back into our put that back into our deck essentially. So if they tap out here, we can Archon. If they leave mana up, they're very likely to have removal, so I'm not going to go for it. And that's the one situation where we could potentially want to take the Expressive Iteration instead. But they might just tap out for, like, Liliana of the Veil here. Hilarious. I mean, great card, but this is not the situation where you want her at all. We have, like, plenty of stuff we don't care about discarding, and they have no mana. They could have, like... I mean, there's cards in the format that would save them here. Gut Shot, Slaughter Pact. But I don't think that's particularly likely. Play Dwarven Mine. Play Creativity. Even if they can kill it immediately, it makes them kill. It kills their Liliana, makes them discard a card. We gain life. We draw a card. Really, really tough to overcome this sort of swing. All right, they have double Lightning Bolt, and we don't have any follow-up, actually. But that's just so much value, I can't really imagine this being a problem. They can escape Kroxa next turn, that's their plan, but we can remand it back to their hand, and then it'll be a while before they can escape it again. All right, let's pass. I'm going to upkeep tap their Dwarven Mine. Or their Den of the... actually, I guess we might as well just tap one of their better lands. The one-off hard evidence. Better than a Spell Pierce here. Probably worse than like another Prismari command, which is something that it could be. Remand is better against Kroxa, but I think I want to remand it anyways and just try and dig towards something. Okay, that's the start of something. I'm not going to get a Dwarven Mine here. I'll save the ones in the deck. Just grab a tapped land. Now we win if we find the Creativity, which we do. All right, sweet. So hard evidence, Dwarven Mine. 2 Archons. That takes out the rest of their hand. They can bring back Kroxa, but it just doesn't matter. Another iteration for good measure. Sweet. This is a great matchup for sure. Another matchup where, well, actually, I don't really know which build is better in this matchup. Probably ours, actually. But it's kind of close. So they're playing black-red mid-range. They're going to have a lot of discard. They also are likely to have Necromentia. I'm going to diversify the top-end threats. Hard Evidence blocks Ragavan, which I like. Spell Pierce is kind of bad against... So it's good against Liliana of the Veil. But in general, I like these sort of conditional counterspells a lot less against decks that get to see your hand. Like, they can Thoughtseize us, see the Spell Pierce, and then play around it pretty easily. Same with Remand. Although Remand has the benefit of being good against Kroxa. I don't think we want Thoughtseize in this matchup. I don't think we want Flusterstorm. Could play the one of Leyline. Is there anything we don't want? I think this package of 5 top-end pieces seems fine. It introduces a lot of variance. We don't know what our creativities are hitting anymore. But I think it's still fine. Let's trim 1 Spell Pierce and 1 Remand. Run it like this. Yeah, that seems good. When we're bringing in more top end, Prismari command to make a treasure token can become relevant. You can just ramp into turn 5 Titan sometimes. I mean, I'll keep this hand. 2 big boys in the opener is not where you want to be. We can loot them away with a Fable, but then we can just, like, run out of top end. Okay, good. Happy to see Thoughtseize here instead of Ragavan. We could bolt the Ragavan, but it would mess up our mana development. So other things for this slot that I considered, I mean, like, Grave Titan is reasonable. Grizzlebrand is good, but then you run into the risk of, like, just having those game... Like, it's harder to hardcast Grizzlebrand, for sure. Actually, it's impossible in our current build. You have to reconfigure the mana base. This is probably not the best threat, though. So definitely let me know in the comments if there's something that would be better in this slot. The slot being like a big thing that you want a creativity into and can close out the game really quickly from that position, but also is hardcastable and is not named Archon so that it doesn't get hit by Necromentia. Potentially getting around Leyline of Sanctity would be good, which Inferno Titan half does. Okay, they just hardcast a Turok. That's very unimpressive. We can play this land so we can hold up Spell Pierce if we need it. It will be very bad, though, if we don't draw another land. Or, not really bad, but I would like to be able to play Fable next turn, and if we don't draw an untapped land, Dwarven Mine will not do the job for us. Okay, let's fetch Basic Mountain. This is not a matchup where we have tons of blue cards, so I think only having 1 or 2 blue sources is fine. I'm more concerned about the life total. So we'll go Mountain. Spell Pierce. And then I'm going to, I guess, yeah, we will bolt here. There's an argument to holding because they might have a second Turok next turn. Oof. Drawing another 3-drop is pretty rough. So we'll see. I mean, right now the board is even. Our life total's high. It's been a bunch of 1-for-1 trades. But if they go land Turok here, they could pull ahead. Okay, looks like it's Seasoned Pyromancer. That card is good against Archon, bad against Inferno Titan. They discard 2 Croxas. Okay, that's a problem. We need to find a creativity soon. Well, there's a creativity. We need to find lands soon. If they just go Croxa next turn, which is pretty likely, it's fine. We can discard one of the big boys, then discard... Like, all 3 of these cards are basically bricks. We just want lands. So hopefully they play Croxa. We'll discard one of these. Then we'll discard the other 2 to draw 2. Huh, they're not going for the Croxa. Which sucks. I really wanted them to play Croxa here. Doughty Voidwalker. That's actually really good here. Because if we discard... Yeah, that's really good. If they thought these were just going to die. Okay. So they can take our creativity, and we're really banking on our top deck. The problem is, if we discard this Archon, which we're almost definitely going to do, then they can use Doughty Voidwalker to put Archon into play. That is a bit of a threat. Doughty Voidwalker is good against us, but we don't really have any good answers to it on our board. It's not like so backbreaking we need Thoughtseize, and it like, I mean, we have bolts, we have plenty of answers. My brother's name is Nick, so I might start calling him Tarnished Nick. Oof. Okay, bolt, that's really bad. We're pretty likely to be able to Archon here, but then they can Archon back without the Voidwalker. So we need to find a removal spell for the Voidwalker immediately. So we're not even going to go for creativity here. Although I will discard these 2. But then we need to find, like, Bolt. Prismatic Command, okay. So let's go land. Oh, this is actually kind of sweet. We can go Prismatic Command to deal 2 and make a treasure. And now we have Remand available if we really want it. And if we don't decide that we need to do that, we just have more stuff for bigger creativity next turn. If they escape Croxa, which is pretty likely, I will go for the Remand. And then we really want to hit a land, ideally, in our top 2 cards. Well, actually, let's think about this. We could just let this resolve. If we don't Remand, then even if we don't draw land, we can play creativity for 2, and we'll have 2 tokens because of the Arid Mesa and the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's a guaranteed 2 threats. Could be 2 Archons or Archon plus Sundering Titan. I think either one of those should be enough to win. So, although they'll have a Croxa, which is actually pretty good. Yeah, I think the Croxa is actually a way they can race this, so I will remand this back to their hand. And it's still, I mean, it's the exact same if we draw an untapped land, which any land in our deck would be untapped, in our top 2 draws. Cling to Dust. Not amazing. We could still Archon just to put one thing into play, but that's significantly worse, of course. Let's see what we draw. Hoping for a Dwarven Mine. That is not a Dwarven Mine. Still just got to go for the creativity, though. So, hit them for 1, and put a dude into play. And we're still very ahead here. It's not like it's a completely unlosable game by any means. Oh, actually, it would be kind of bad if we hit the Sundering Titan. Archon would be much, much better. Okay. So we're insulated against Liliana Edict. They have no cards in hand. They could top deck like a Terminate, but they're at 8. So I think even if they manage to kill this, we're in a good spot. Uh, I'm going to block here. We still don't die to Bolt. If they have like Chandra Torch of Defiance, they could maybe get us. I think they just wanted to escape Croxa, which I guess in light of that, we maybe should have just taken it anyways. But if they just spend their whole turn escaping Croxa, we win. It's not like a hard game to win from there. But still, probably would have been better to just take the 2. Opponent struggling a bit with the mana over there for Croxa. Been there. It's kind of a hard card to cast. All right, there's the Croxa. We discard one of the Fables, but then we're going to... I mean, they're just dead on board right now. This hits them for 9. We can also make a copy of this if we somehow need to. All right, sweet. So we pretty easily dismantled Red-Black Rock. Seems like that should be a very good matchup. I think that should be a good matchup for the other build too, so that's not really points for this more streamlined build. But a win's a win. We are 2-1. I'll see you in round 4. I'm not used to saying round 4. I'm used to it just being a three-match thing. All right, on the draw against Dervuk. Yeah, keepable hand. Little slow. These cards have kind of similar vibes in the art. Opponent's on to 4, which probably means Tron or Dredge. Both of which are actually pretty good matchups. This is one of the few decks that can just like beat Tron and Dredge without hate somewhat consistently. But then if they mold a 4, obviously that does make things easier. Turn 1 Spell Pierce could be huge. And I'm not going to say it's like, you know, a good Tron draw, even in a mold of 4, even when we have Spell Pierce, can beat us. But you got to like your odds when your opponent has 4 cards. Marsh Flats. That must mean Dredge, right? There's no way that another deck would mulligan this low. Sacred Foundry. What Sacred Foundry deck mulligans to 4 and then doesn't just snap concede? Are they playing like just a red-white mid-range deck? Like Thalia here, Stoneforge Mystic. I guess Stoneforge Mystic is a card that can win on its own. Actually, that could be kind of funnily good if they get... Yeah, we actually could lose to Cauldra here. We have Prismari Command. Oh, no, they're playing Hammer Time. Okay. I mean, yeah, should be fine. Let's grab Xander's Lounge. Prismatic Command is very good in the matchup. Another iteration was a pretty bad draw. That's the risk of this card. You don't want to draw 3 in your top 10, but you do want to draw 3 in your top 20. So this is an easy 4 of. Hardcast Colossus Hammer. I think I'm just going to Spell Pierce this while we have the mana. It's not immediately threatening, but there is like a 2-drop creature that equips a hammer, and like if they could just get us with something weird like that. So if we just play iteration, we could randomly lose. Like they could just go Sigarze, double hammer. I don't think it's very likely at all. But I think it's worth it to play Fable here first. Yeah, Fable gives us a chump blocker. And it also lets us just cycle more quickly. Expressive Iteration also lets us dig through our deck, but this lets us dig through our deck while making mana, hopefully. And on the off chance where they have the perfect draw, it's a chump blocker so we don't die. Alright, opponent's really not doing much over there. Okay, so let's discard one of the iterations and an Archon. We did draw the land, okay. So hit for 2. And then I think I will iteration here to dig towards creativity. Okay. Hand, bottom, exile. And I think I will do that. Passing with just Remand up is probably fine. So, exile your hammer. Oh, okay, sure. All right, another Remand. Our hand is very redundant. We found all 4 expressive iterations. Achievement unlocked. Take 1. Don't care about this. Okay, I was not familiar with this card. This is why they're splashing red. Seemed really good in their deck. I like this card a lot. I'm not going to Remand it. Alright, let's just find the creativity here. No need to drag this out any longer for our poor opponent. 3rd Remand. We're just drawing, like, all the same cards. Not really what you want. In general, you want to draw, like, 1 of most of these cards per game. And Remand is just terrible in this matchup. We're definitely siding out all 4. Chump block my goblin token. Weird. Oh, they have the pump spell thing. I will spell pierce this actually. Just keeping their board presence down is relevant here. All right, let's iteration looking for lands and creativity. Jeez. All right, hand, Bottom of the library, exile the Spell Pierce. And we will pass. And then our plan, like, we can remand if we need to. And then, assuming we don't need to, we can just play Creativity and win. They're not playing blue, so we don't need to worry about Spell Pierce. I think it's worth just remanding this. Funny to think they might have won this game if they had just gotten Kaldra on turn 2. They might not be playing Kaldra. But if they are, we didn't have a clean answer, and we also didn't present a quick clock at all. We are finally going to be able to do it now, but this would be way too late if they put Kaldra into play on turn 3. So Dwarven Mine. Creativity. I'm going to do it for 2. Actually, I'm just going to do it for 1. There's no real need to go for more. On the weird chance that they do have Spell Pierce, it would feel pretty bad. And we can just make a copy with this thing. So they lose both of their cards in hand, both of their creatures. They take, I think they take exactly 18 actually, so they do die, yeah. All right, sweet. So we pretty easily dismantle a Mold of 4 there. They did not do much. Still good to get a win in round 1. Let's bring in Prismari Command for sure. Alpine Moon is good. We didn't see it there, but they were definitely playing Urza's Saga. Inferno Titan is potentially better than Creativity in some situations against them. But also what worse is they actually had the thing equipped, so I don't think we want to make that change. It's like if we could just turn Creativity into, like, instead of Archon of Cruelty, your choice of Inferno Titan and Archon, I would do it. But I think it's better to be able to, like, plan around the Archon, given that we know they're not playing Necromentia. Okay, Fire Ice is great. Remand is terrible. I like Hard Evidence just for making a chump blocker. Mystical Dispute is somewhat playable against the blue-white version, but they're not playing that. They could still be playing... I mean, this is good against Blacksmith's Skill, and also potentially if they're playing, like, March of Unholy Light. We could bring in Thoughtseize. Cling to Dust is also quite bad. It's very rare that we have this problem, but actually now we're in a situation where we don't have a full 36 spells we want to play. I'm very happy with these 52. I think I'm going to choose to play 1 Flusterstorm and 1 Thoughtseize. Both cards I do not want in multiples ever, but this seems solid. Actually, maybe Thoughtseize is better. They're an aggressive deck, but they're not an aggressive deck that cares about 2 damage. Like, usually when they win, they're hitting you for, like, 20. Yeah, I'm going to play 2 Thoughtseize over 2 Flusterstorm. Still not a card that I want to draw, like, tons of, but... Oh, whoops! I accidentally put in a Leyline instead of a Thoughtseize. That is hilarious. And we got in the opener. Should we just keep this hand just so we can take out their graveyard? This would be a mulligan even if... Well, actually, if this was a Thoughtseize, it would be kind of close. But I still think we can do better. I want to have a hand with multiple lands. Okay, this hand's good. Let's put back Blood Crypt. Steam Vent and Spell Pierce for early interaction plus the creativity. We need 1 more land to turn Dwarven Mine on, but that should not be too hard to find. There's a decent chance we need to shock on turn 1 to hold up Bolt. I really hope they don't play Esper Sentinel. If they do, it'll slow us down quite a bit. And poor Dervuk. Had to go to 4 in game 1. Now they're down here on 5. All right, no play. Fable is an okay draw, but we do really need to hit more lands. This might be a situation where we we play Dwarven Mine on turn 2. Hmm. If you have no plays in the first two turns as a aggro combo deck like theirs, you should probably mulligan, even though going to 4 doesn't feel good. Okay, I will play another Arid Mesa. Probably, like, we could probably just get the Steam Vents in to play tapped, but on the off chance that we want to go, like, Bolt plus Pierce, which is actually not even that unlikely, then I don't want to cut off my mana, and I also don't want to shotgun Steam Vents unnecessarily. Hardcast Colossus Hammer. I think I'm going to Spell Pierce this. It's close. Having, like, I don't know their exact list, but they're playing that dude. Like, Colossus Hammer being in play becomes a lot scarier when you know that they're playing that red 1-drop. Okay, they pass. Grab another Steam Vents. Okay, I'll just grab a Mountain with this one and jam the Fable. They could have Mana Tithe, I guess, in which case there's nothing more honorable than losing to Mana Tithe, so hopefully that happens. Alright, so Fable's down. We're pretty much 100% insulated against a kill here. Yeah, I think we are 100% insulated. They take out the Goblin here. Okay, so this is their hand. They kept a hand that was interactive, and if we were to try and like turbo combo them, then they could break it up, and they were hoping that might be good enough. That's fair enough. When you're down to 5, you need to hope for something kind of weird, and that's a possible path to victory for them. Springleaf Drum is not strong. Alright, let's discard 2 lands here. There's the Leyline of the Void. Our super secret tech. So secret they don't even know how we're playing it. This should be fine. We'll pass. I mean, if this was a Thoughtseize, I would play it this turn, and it would slightly help our chances, but our chances are fine on their own. Okay, they pass. Do we want to ice here? I think yes. If we can only creativity for 1, we can't really go for it into their potential second march. But if we creativity for 2, they can march 1, we get the other. That should be fine. They could be considering, okay, they don't go for the Dwarf token end of turn. So, yeah, I don't really think there's any way. Oh, there's the Thoughtseize that we're actually supposed to have. But I don't even think we want to play it at this point. We just want creativity for 2. I think that Mana Tithe is not a real consideration. Well, You know what? I will. Like, Mana Tithe, like, I don't think there's any way that only 1 creativity is not enough. And it's like, you know, on the 1% chance they actually have the Mana Tithe, they could get us. Oh, wow. Containment Priest. They have a lot of hate. Okay, so Fateful Absence is a kill spell that hits us. So I guess we take that. Against this hand, I do want 2 Archons, but I still think we're fine. They have a lot of hate. That's for sure. If they kept a good 7 with like Esper Sentinel plus a hate card, it would be very hard to win. Especially if we're packing Leyline of the Void. Alright, so they get 1 draw step. They're trying to rip a Fateful Absence. If they do, we investigate and keep on progressing with our game plan. There's the dreaded Sentinel. A little bit past its point of optimal function. Alright. Make a dude. They can put a Containment Priest into play, but this does not work. Containment Priest only stops non-token creatures, and this is a token creature. Interesting tech though. That card actually seems like it could be good in this format, but we got it. We are 3-1. I will see you in the finals. All right, ready for the finals here against Magic Dan. We are on the play, and we have a good hand, so we'll keep. I should note, our opponent mulliganed so low that I think it would not have been too hard to beat that last matchup no matter what. But in general against Hammer, I think this deck is way better than the 5-color variant. Your mana is way more consistent. The Ren and 6 into Fairy, which are the main pulls to the 5-color variant, are both not that good. I think Fire Ice is probably better. Remand is not great, but still, I think that's a solid place to be. Okay, they play turn 1 Ragavan. We have plenty of ways to kill that. Okay, good draw. I think I'm just going to Bolt here rather than use Fire Ice or Spell Pierce or something. We could fetch for Mountain and then Bolt to hold up Spell Pierce. But I think I'm just going to Bolt like this. If we need to use the Spell Pierce, we can grab an untapped Steam Vent, and it's not the end of the world. Thoughtseize. Okay, yeah, we will be doing that. So we could have saved 2 life by fetching the Mountain first. Unlikely to matter, but worth noting. Turn 2, 2 interactive spells for 1 mana each on turn 2 is good. And that into iteration. Okay, interesting. That's really close, actually, between the Bolt and the Fable. I think I am going to keep the Bolt, because I think it's fairly likely that they dash a Ragavan here. Basically, it depends. Are we more worried about, we want to take the Fable if we're worried about them outgrinding us in a long game, and we want to take Bolt if we're worried about them getting off to a fast start. And I think I'm more afraid of them getting off to a fast start, so I'm going to hedge against that. But it is close. And if we just draw, a bunch of lands and Archons for a little while and can't loot them away, then I'll regret that. Based on that Swamp, they could be playing Blood Moon. Blood Moon is good against us. Creativity can get around it, but it stops Dwarven Mine, so you need to already have tokens in play. We have no basics. I considered playing a basic island, but the problem is all of our fetches are red. So we could have at most 4 Scalding Tarns, so that doesn't even give us that good access to it. Ha! Lightning Skelemental. I love it, and I'm really happy I kept the Bolt. That's really funny. Okay, so 6/1 that shoots for 2, but it dies to Bolt, so we will Bolt. And here we will just grab the basic Mountain. Alright, do we want to get the Dwarven Mine into play? I don't think so. They don't know we're playing Creativity yet, so I'm going to preserve that information. Let's play this tapped and passed. And if they have another Skelemental, I mean, all of the cards in their hand deal with it effectively, but Fire Ice is especially good. You can just tap it, and then they sack it at the end of turn. Get a clean 2 for 1. They also might be playing Unearth to bring back the Skelemental, but again, we have multiple answers, so that's not really a threat. If they just do nothing, it's kind of an interesting choice of whether or not we want to cycle the Fire Ice. Hardcast Grief. Okay, I think we just let this resolve. Fire the Grief, Bolt their face. We could also, if our top card was a land, it would be better to ice first. But I think, the 3 damage is better than that. So, fire here. Lightning Bolt your face. Then they look at our hand of 2 Dwarven Mines. So we don't have anything going, but our life total is high, and we have really good top decks. Okay, I'm going to play this to preserve information. Also stops the dashed Ragavan. And if they play a Skelemental, then we'll want to have the dude in play. So we have 5 creativity effects that would essentially win the game if we drew them. We have 3 iterations that would be good. Ooh, Voidwalker. That's not that scary. It's somewhat of a clock. Do we want to fire ice the Voidwalker or fire the Voidwalker or ice to draw a card? I think I'm just gonna fire the Voidwalker. Actually, maybe not. It doesn't do that much. It's really good when they can Thoughtseize our Archon and then play an Archon that way. But if it's just a 3/2, that's not that effective. Grief. Okay, well, that makes it easy. So they get the grief. They don't take anything from our hand. I mean, we're top decking, but our top decks are so good. Do we want to bolt this now so we can hit for 2? I think so. And then we could leave back a thing for Ragavan. Yeah, I'll hit them for 1. If they have a removal spell and they go removal spell with Ragavan, that's fine. We've gone through 4 lightning bolts. Okay, they have a Skelemental. That's not too bad. I mean, we take 6, which is a lot of damage, but we don't have any cards to discard. Archon. Okay, we are 1 land away from just hardcasting that. So now almost any draw in our deck is good. Any land gives us Archon. Any of our 5 creativities gives us 2 Archons. Well, Transmogrify gives us 1. The other creativities give us 2. Expressive Iteration gives us cards. Prismari Command will find some action. It's really just Spell Pierce that would be bad. Remand is fine too. Yeah, Spell Pierce is the only bad draw in our deck now. The 2 Spell Pierces. I guess another Archon is also bad, so we have 5 bad draws. All right, they just passed. They're definitely holding removal. There's a pause there before they took the damage. Okay, they evoke Fury. So now creativity is no longer a good draw, but land is. If you're ever in a situation where... Oh, interesting. Okay, so they're going all in on this Fury. Pretty quick clock. It doesn't kill us in next turn, but it puts us to 1, and then the turn after it would kill us. And, oh man, if we... It turned off a fetch land in 1 turn, so it would actually essentially remove our out. So really need to hit a land this turn. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Okay. I will chump block here to preserve my life total if given the chance. They might remove that, and then we... Okay, so we are going to get to block, it looks like. That's good. And then we get a couple draws here to find... I mean, we have so many things that would be good here. Okay, creativity is not one of them. So we'll keep the Archon, discard creativity. Okay. We have double black. This should be enough to win. We grab another Dwarven Mine. This is good insurance in case somehow we need a blocker that's not Archon. Like, if they have Feign Death, another Feign Death, then it could be interesting. Looks like they don't, though. Nope, they do. Okay, so they bring back Fury. They get to kill our Dwarf token. But we don't need to chump block anymore. Like, we could just take 8, but then we die to Bolt. So I think I probably will accept this trade if they offer it. Is that right? Yeah, I think it is right. I think it's more likely that they have a Bolt and that we die a long game from this position. We're about to flip our Fable. We have Prismari Command. Okay. So we're definitely killing that. I think I'm going to kill that in loot. My hand is fine, but yeah, I just want to find creativity. So discard 2 remands, creativity this, and that should be enough to win. I guess I'll play this to get a Dwarven Mine in case they're playing Liliana of the Veil. All right, sweet. That ended up being a close matchup. They had us on the ropes there a bit with the Archon, but we were able to find the land that we needed. They had us on the ropes with Fury, but we were able to find the land for Archon. So they're playing Black Red Scam. They're playing Grief, Fury, Feign Death, which is good. Cling to Dust breaks that up really nicely, but it's still scary. Lightning Skelemental is an odd card for them to be playing, but it's pretty good with... Oh, wait, no. I don't think it works with Feign Death. I'm not sure, though. Main deck Voidwalker is interesting. Discard, Ragavan. I mean, their best draws are going to be really tough. Like, if they go turn 1, like, double Grief plus have a 4/3 with Menace, we could lose to that. I think I'm not going to bring in these because, well, maybe 1 Inferno Titan is fine. Flusterstorm is an option. Leyline is an option. Prismari Command is an option. I don't think we want Thoughtseize. Alright, so these are all reasonable cards to bring in. I'm not going to bring in, like, multiple Flusterstorms, though. Although, it's possible Flusterstorm is better than Spell Pierce. We didn't see any non-creatures other than instants and sorceries. So against instants and sorceries, the worst case scenario for Flusterstorm is that it's the same as Spell Pierce. If they cast 1 spell, you cast Flusterstorm, it's counter unless they pay 2. But then it scales up really nicely from there. The problem is we really want this for turn 1 to break up the combo, and we're on the draw. Prismari Command is a removal, but it doesn't kill a big Grief. I'm kind of leaning toward just running back the main deck again. Maybe make one of these swaps and then run back the main deck. I'll cut 2 Spell Pierces for 1 Flusterstorm in the 3rd command. Actually, no. Let's play the 1 of Leyline. We'll play the 1 of Leyline and just spike it in the opener. We're definitely going to draw it in a situation where we want it to be Thoughtseize now. Okay, I'm going to keep it. It can't kill a Ragavan on turn 1. But I don't think this is the kind of hand we can mull. The second Prismari Command could be another Spell Pierce, could be a Thoughtseize. We'll see what would be the best. No Ragavan. They have the Ragavan. Okay, that's quite bad. Oh, we had that the whole time. I wasn't even worried. I'm just going to do it now to play around Feign Death. If they want to dash a Ragavan, that's fine. If they do have Feign Death and they go for it, I'd rather Spell Pierce the Feign Death, but we don't know that they have that. Okay, they have the turn 2 Voidwalker. That's fine, too. We can kill that with Prismari Command. Our hand's pretty good. There's no artifacts to kill, so probably if they just... Like, if they either do nothing relevant or we get just Spell Pierce and we untap, then I'll probably go Prismari Command to shock the Dauthi Voidwalker and make a treasure token. Treasure tokens are very relevant in this deck. Sure, we'll take 3. Second Voidwalker, okay. I mean, we have 2 Prismari Commands, actually. That's not too bad. I'm not playing... So we could just do a main phase, but if they play a Lightning Skelemental, I'll want to kill that. So that's why we're waiting until now. This does let them go Feign Death if they want to, but that's fine. Thoughtseize. Okay, I think we're going to go... We're basically going to use Prismatic Command to just be a 2 damage shock. We can grab Mountain and then kill one of the Voidwalkers and make a treasure. And then use the treasure to play Spell Pierce. So, 2 damage on a target. Target player creates a treasure. We could have just let this resolve too, but I want to be able to kill both of their things. Okay, so they do play the Malakir Rebirth. That's fine. Oh, huh. Clever play. They're able to actually play our land this way. Yeah, that's a nice play. So we make our thing. Pierce the Thoughtseize. I still do think we want to do this. And now, so what do they think about? They can use Prismari Command in response, but that doesn't do anything. They can't use our own Spell Pierce here to counter the Spell Pierce. Okay, Xander's Lounge is not a bad draw, actually. So we have Prismari Command. We're going to wait until they attack, because otherwise they can use the Voidwalker to play our Spell Pierce. Jeez, calm down with all these Voidwalkers. Tripled out the Voidwalker is kind of insane. Alright, so they go to combat, swing with both. Oh, they only swing with one. Huh. That's cute. Oh no, they swing with both. That's got to be a better play. There's like some argument to holding up Spell Pierce, but that seems a little loose. Okay, let's oh man, if they have a fatal push, it's gonna be really hard to win this game. We could loot. I think it's better to make a treasure though still. The thing is, all the cards in our hand are pretty good. Like Fable is not looking great here, but overall I still think looting is not super effective. Our plan is just to try and survive for one more turn, so that this Voidwalker puts us to 7, and then they have 2 Voidwalkers, so even if we find no burn, we're not dead on board. And we might be able to find some burn. Alright, Wooded Foothills was not clutch. But that's fine. We were really banking on this iteration hitting something. Cling to Dust would do it too. Oh, man. That's really bad. I mean, our actual play here is pretty easy, but that sucks that we hit just absolutely nothing. So, Fluster in the hand, Archon on the bottom, Exile Mire. But I'm not even going to play the Bloodstained Mire. Okay, given how bad our top cards were, I wish we had looted. We can play the Fable of the Mirror Breaker and have a treasure token up for Flusterstorm if they have a burn spell. If they're handed all bricks, I think it's like kind of 50-50. And if they have literally anything, then we're going to lose, but hopefully they have nothing. They can also play Iteration off of one of their Voidwalkers, but I think we're fine with that. I'm most afraid of them just killing us. So if they're trying to set up for a longer game, that's whatever. Fatal Push one of our blockers. That seems fine. I mean, it's not good, but I think it's not something we need to crack our treasure token to Spell Pierce, or to Flusterstorm. Lightning Bolt our face. Okay, that we cannot Flusterstorm, so I'm not going to give them the information that we have it. That's game. Alright, so they took us down to the back of triple Voidwalker. We have a lot of burn, but enough Voidwalkers will still be a problem. It does look like Flusterstorm is just a better Spell Pierce, so I'm going to make that exchange for sure. Prismatic Command seems decent. We haven't seen any evidence of Necromantia. We do just hard lose to it, though, if we bring out the Titan. I think we can cut the ley line. Prismatic Command is good against Voidwalker. Good against Skelemental, too. Is that versus another Fluster? I think I'm actually going to play 3 Flusterstorms, though. And I will keep the Inferno Titan tentatively. I'm not 100% sure it's correct, but it's not even that much worse than Archon. And also better in some situations. Okay, easy mulligan there. That hand does nothing. Don't love this hand, but I will keep it. I'm going to keep and put back one of all these fetches. Normally, I don't cheer for my opponents to mulligan, but when I'm mulliganing and I'm playing against the Thoughtseize deck, 6 versus 6 seems fine. I'm not saying they need to go to 3. All right, they do keep this one. Keep and put back land. Could also put back Dwarven Mine, but we're pretty much 100% sure that the 4th fetch land, or one of the 4th fetch land or soon thereafter, will grab a Dwarven Mine. So we'll just save the 1 life then. I guess we do have Cling to Dust, so cards in graveyard can be relevant, but I don't think that having 1 card in the graveyard is going to swing this game, whereas actually having 1 point of life could. So best case scenario for us by far is if they go for the turn 1 Fury. If they go for turn 1 Grief, it doesn't really work because while the Evoke trigger is on the stack, they can make us discard the Cling to Dust and then take the Fire Ice for the second thing. So that doesn't work. If they go for the Fury, though, it's just a clean 3 for 1. And we also get Cling to Dust in the graveyard, so hopefully that's what happens. And we are playing exactly 1 untapped Black Source. Just a Ragavan, okay. So this is a situation where we want to play around Undying, or one of the Feign Death type cards. We also could tap the Ragavan. I'm not going to kill it now. We can consider, if they just go straight to combat, I think I actually am going to tap it, because Dwarven Mine just shuts down Ragavan pretty effectively, and we're on a mulligan, we're kind of low on resources. I don't want to, this deck sort of it wants to be a high resource deck, where you have tokens and cards and mana, and they're trying to make it a low resource game where both players don't have much going, and then Ragavan's able to win. So, yeah, let's ice here. It's really close. But I mean, well, drawing a land there is pretty bad. And they Thoughtseize our Cling. So we have nothing. We have a lot of live draws, though. Prismari Command off the top would kill the Ragavan. We have plenty of blockers. And then worst case scenario, okay. We still only take 1 hit this turn. And then we can get the Dwarven Mine train going. Looks like a Skelemental here. Oh, no. Okay. They hit one of our Dwarven Mines. That's actually very relevant. Engineered Explosives for 0. Okay. If they had that into Blood Moon, okay, into Spyro. Well, we can go for it this turn. If they have a 1-mana removal spell, we're in bad shape, but I don't think we're in a position to play around that. So, and they also just drew 2 random cards, so it's not that likely to get us. Yeah, we're going to go for it. Nice. It did resolve. This is a situation where Inferno Titan would have actually been pretty significantly better, but still got to like that feeling. We got the Archon down on turn 4. The sack trigger is not very good. They can just sack one of their elementals, but they're down to 1 card in hand. This pads our life total. We're also going to get to draw a card. Notable that I don't think this would have worked if we had iced. Actually, maybe. I guess we wouldn't have had the Fable in hand, so maybe we could have won. Yeah, the decision to fire or ice the Ragavan is a close one. Still not 100% sure what was correct. But we are ahead now. Fury does not kill our Archon. I will block, though, which means that we do die to Fury. But I don't think it really makes sense to take 5, including a Ragavan trigger. Although, if they have Terminate, they're definitely just killing the Archon and attacking. So we can safely assume they don't have the card Terminate. Or like a clean way to kill it. Which means that their only out is to burn it down, probably. Okay, they just passed. So they made our decision easy. I think even if you have nothing, you need to attack there. So I don't think that was the right play from the opponent. They're like, just this attack trigger. I mean, yeah, now it's over. Another Fable. So they're down to 2. Could play Cling. That seems not necessary. I'm just going to get some blockers down. All right, sweet. So that is the league, a constructed league. Again, this is not a normal thing for my channel, but Vintage Cube is gone and will be for a bit. I do have a few more Vintage Cube videos to release, but I still wanted to mix it up a little. So this was our deck. 3-color creativity, kind of 2-color. We're really just a blue-red deck with a couple black cards on the sideboard. We went 4-1, so very good result. The deck seemed strong. It was powerful and proactive, but also had a lot of good interaction and ability to grind. So it covered the bases pretty well there. The combo itself was good. I mean, Archon of Cruelty pretty much won the game every single time it hit the board. It's weak to Leyline, and it's weak to Asmo. But in general, I think that is the piece you want to be putting into play. Fire Ice and Remand, I think were pretty consistently good. There was at least one situation where we drew 3 Remands, and that was awkward. But it was very good against control, and I think it is a good card to have. The burn was all sort of, it is what it is. It's essential. Fable was good. Prismari Command was good. Expressive Iteration was excellent, as to be expected. I think the number of Spell Pierce was good. Hard Evidence, we basically never drew or cast. There's one situation where we drew it late in the game, and it was good there, but I think we would have won that game either way. The Cling was quite good, actually. There was never a situation where it was awkward. And so it was either basically free to put in the graveyard and then just didn't do much from there. Or there was a couple games where it was able to draw us like 3 or 4 cards over the course of the long game. Also, in one game that we lost, we could have potentially won if we had gained life against the blue-black Murktide deck. So that's relevant too. We also even took out one of the, I forget what it's called, but the 4-drop that comes back to their hand against the Asmo deck. So the incidental graveyard hit is relevant. I like the 1 Cling. I don't think I would want to go to 2, but I wouldn't want to go to 0 either, at least in a deck where you're playing this many black sources. The mana base seemed solid. I think 3 Steam Vents is the right number. You don't really want to draw them naturally in your opener, but you definitely want to be able to have like at least 3 blue sources in certain matchups where you're playing all these 1-mana blue cards. I liked having the 1 mountain. 24 seemed like a good land number. There was a few times where we had to play a tapped Dwarven Mine, which is awkward, but that seemed like a pretty good amount. As for the board, we never played against Necromantia. It's possible that devoting 2-ish sideboard slots to that is too much. I like having at least one threat there. And I also like the Sundering Titan is good in matchups that can be a little bit tough otherwise, like Amulet Titan. But maybe you don't really need to worry about that. Like if you're putting something into play, you're just hoping you win those matchups anyways. I think I'd probably go down to one more top end piece in the board, but I do like having one, whether that's Inferno Titan or something that's harder to hardcast like Kozilek that incidentally hates against Mill and is kind of hardcastable, but not really. For now, I like Inferno Titan, but definitely let me know in the comments if there's a better option for that slot. I like the Moon. I like the Prismatic Command. Definitely like the Thoughtseizes. Like these. The Leyline was kind of awkward, and we never really did anything with it. That probably shouldn't be a Leyline. Whether it should be like another piece of Graveyard Hate or what is hard to say. The matchup we lost to is Asmo, and that actually does seem like it's a really bad matchup. Like specifically the card Asmo, whatever. Asmo is good against us. Graveyard Hate's good against that strategy. It's kind of a hard deck to sideboard against, though, because they attack you from several different angles at the same time. I'm kind of leaning toward just not worrying about that and just taking the kind of bad matchup if that's what it comes down to. But then the question is, if we're cutting the Leyline, if we're cutting Leyline and Sundering Titan, what do we want? The card I really want is Veil of Summer, which plays a somewhat similar role to Thoughtseize in some situations, but like it's really, really powerful. Don't really want to splash a color for it though. We could play more of these counter spells. We could just keep the Leyline and go up to 2 Leylines and have more of a active plan against the graveyard decks. Cling to Dust doesn't really seem worth it. I'll think about it. I'm not really sure what I think the ideal sideboard should be. I liked the main deck, and I liked the sideboard minus these 2 cards. And acknowledging that we might want to change this one. But at any rate, it was a really sweet deck and a sweet league. Some very close matches, some kind of blowouts. Archon was great. The deck was great. We went 4-1, so cannot complain. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you like the idea of modern content in general, and I'll see you next time.